This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
So Qualcomm just held its annual event in Hawaii and they announced two new chipsets for Windows 10 and ARM. Today we're going to talk about what that means for the ecosystem and why I still think Intel is a threat. Stay tuned. All right, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about Qualcomm and some of the issues they face with Windows 10 and ARM. There have, of course, been the compatibility issues and what apps you can run, but there's also that whole price point thing. In fact, almost every review I've done on Windows 10 and ARM, people have complained about the price. The chipsets have always been a little bit more premium than what people have expected. And that's definitely a criticism that can be levied. That's what makes this week's announcement so interesting. So there are two new chipsets, the Snapdragon 7C and Snapdragon 8C. There's also, of course, a Snapdragon 8CX, which has been modified to run in the Surface Pro X. And that 8CX is also coming out in the new Samsung Galaxy Book S, which will come out someday, apparently, to the market. But those are premium high-end chips. The 7C, though, is meant for an entry-level devices. That's really kind of interesting. Now, we don't have specific price points on these, but presumably we could see them in $400 or $500 devices. That also means you get LTE on board. Meanwhile, the 8C will be geared towards more mid-range and mainstream laptops, so a little bit cheaper. Now, when it comes to performance, the 7C is around 20% faster than something. We don't really know. It's an Intel competitor chip. Whether that's a Pentium Gold or that's going to be an Atom chip, we don't really know, but it should be a pretty good performer. Don't forget, these are octa-core processors versus dual or quad core from Intel. That may sound like a gimmick, but we have seen in benchmarking that the multi-core octa-core systems from Qualcomm do actually do very well for multi-core performance on benchmarks. In fact, it absolutely blows away the Pentium Gold, which is only a dual-core processor. So you may not get exactly the fastest single-core performance, but on multi-core, these chips actually will perform quite well. Now, what I'm really interested in is whether or not Microsoft will use this in the Surface Go 2. Now, Microsoft hasn't announced a Surface Go 2, nor do we know if one is actually in development, but if there are two complaints about the device, actually three. One would be battery life, two would be CPU performance, and three were those bezels, which were pretty thick. Now, a Snapdragon 7C could presumably address at least two of those. You would get better battery life, you would also get better performance. Yes, this would outperform a Pentium Gold because almost everything outperforms that chip. And plus, like I said, octa-core performance. Battery life would be great, and if they could just fix those bezels, well, that's a solid device right there, plus LTE. That's another question I have. Qualcomm in the past has said they won't remove LTE from these chips, it's just all or nothing, and yet we see something like HoloLens 2, which runs a Snapdragon 850, and that doesn't have LTE, so there are exceptions to this rule. I would like to see Qualcomm sort of remove LTE from these devices as an option so that you can get something like a Surface Go 2, still hitting that $399 price point.
But before we continue, a quick word from our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to start your own website to kick off that writing career, or maybe launch a business? Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a professional website, online store, or portfolio. It's easy to claim a domain, create a custom site that matches your style, and bring your idea to life. The tools are intuitive and easy to use, which means you can have your very own website up and running in no time. Squarespace brings you some incredibly valuable tools like built-in email campaign, e-commerce templates, and precise analytics to better understand your audience. Whether you want a personal website or you're looking to open up a shop, Squarespace has you covered. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Windows Central to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain.
Now it comes to the Snapdragon 8C, well, that's going to be for mid-range and mainstream PCs. Now performance there is supposed to be about 30% faster than an existing Snapdragon 850, and it's actually kind of a sweet spot there. That may actually be just enough for most people. Now we don't know the price range on those devices too, but hopefully we're looking at $800 or $900 for those laptops. Qualcomm did not announce any timing for these chips, but going by past releases, I'm going to say late summer 2020 is when we could probably start to expect these. Having said all that, as big of a fan I am of Windows 10 on ARM and Qualcomm here, I gotta give Intel some credit. Their Project Athena, where they work closely with OEMs to optimize battery performance, instant on, and LTE connectivity, has been kind of working. When I reviewed the Surface Pro 7 recently, I was really impressed with how fast the instant on is on there. In fact, it's quicker than Qualcomm's own offerings. They did that all within a year. So it goes to show you that Intel, when they want to focus on this stuff, can actually be a threat. I think they can still sort of outprice Qualcomm here. Now, we don't know what they're going to be doing in their low and mid range, and that's really the big question. Intel is focusing on premium high-end stuff right now. Their new Lakefield chipset could be interesting, but I'm still expecting that to be in the 8CX range at least. So you're still talking premium. How they're going to compete for something like a Surface Go 2, I just don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see. There's also AMD, who's coming out with some new chipsets too in 2020, and those are supposed to be even better than Intel's, but we'll have to wait to see how battery performance is going to be with those. Bottom line here is competition is good, and we're finally seeing it between Qualcomm and Intel, and hopefully AMD will be there soon. Fingers crossed, though, we'll see a Surface Go with Windows 10 on ARM sometime in summer 2020, but you leave me a comment below and tell me, is that what you want to see, or do you think Windows 10 on ARM is just not going to go anywhere? If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.